I'll start YouTube and we'll be ready. Okay, there we go. And if these services would just have countdowns, that would even be better.
Yeah. That would definitely make more sense.
Of course, the cables on the floor keep wanting to get underneath foot. All right, click that. Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific, Todd. It's great to be back Saturday. It must be the New Media Show.
It must be. So I've a Red Bull in one hand, iced coffee in the other. I think I'm well caffeinated to be ready to go. We'll see if I have to revert to the Red Bull, but it's early, so I might not have to.
That always helps boost the energy of the show. Get it going. I had a good sized coffee too, so it's always helpful.
You know, you're gonna laugh, but I was sitting here about 15 minutes ago, getting ready to get the show going, and Time Machine says, "Hey, I haven't backed up in 5 days. What's going on?" On the Mac, and I'm messing around, can't connect to the network attached storage device, and then I said, "I wonder if it's turned on."
A small thing like that.
And I had changed out the router this week, and I had turned it off during that change out, and sure enough, it was off. So I was like, "You're an idiot." So as soon as I turned it back on, the computer stopped complaining, and I could attach to the device. Imagine that.
Right.
It's pretty bad when you have to have like 40 terabytes of storage to deal with 15 years of media backups. It gets large. So now what I'm starting to do is buy these big multi-terabyte drives, and I'm offloading stuff off the NAS that will not, well, for a better word, I'm not really worried if that hard drive goes bad over time. It'll be there. It's one of those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a backup drive on my system too. It's got five terabytes. So just kind of sitting over here that I can drop stuff onto. It seems like a lot. And then I've got I think both of us, or most people, have cloud storage these days. It's probably over a terabyte, probably, or about that.
That takes care of 1 year.
Right.
Maybe, maybe. So, but anyway, everyone, I'm sure you all have your own ways of dealing with media
storage
backup. But it's,
right.
It's important to, building, we've talked about it here, if a building burns down, things will go sideways. But I don't know if I told you, did I talk about the new router on Wednesday?
You mentioned that you were going to get one, but I'm not sure that you've talked about what the implications of that was.
Yeah, so there was what was happening, and I'm not buying any more Netgear routers. This is a very expensive router that I had bought. And less than a year ago, matter of fact, I'm going to go back to Netgear and see if I can get it replaced. But what it was doing, and maybe what it was causing some effect on the show a couple of shows ago, is every now and again, it just kind of like, it had a moment. And the way I could tell it was an issue is I would type in let's just say google.com and hit enter, and my browser would just kind of sit there and go, do nothing for like 10 seconds, and all of a sudden it'd start loading. Well, there was something going on with that router. There was
passing data through it very fast.
Something,
right?
Yeah. Now, once you got on the page, it was good, but it was kind of like, was this a DNS issue? And I'd upgraded it, and it wasn't hacked, and that's the thing you worry, because I was worried about it being hacked and something going on. So I bought a Asus GT-AX 11,000. And
wow, that sounds pretty fancy.
It's a gamer router specifically designed to have superior streaming, because a lot of these folks are streaming now on Twitch. So supposedly, quote unquote, superior streaming capability. And probably the stream will fall over 15 minutes from now, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, not an inexpensive replacement at all. That wasn't a planned budget item.
So is this more of a what would be considered a commercial router, or would it be more of
N-
a consumer router?
no, it's at the top, absolute top end of consumer routers.
Right.
And it's got like 8 antennas on it, and it's crazy, and it's got features on here that I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what some of these features are, but gamers do.
Mm-hmm.
And they've even got special routing to specific game platforms with this. So it's definitely a more of a gamer oriented. And there was like 3 different routers I was weighing in between, trying to figure out which one to get. But yeah, I went with this Asus. And I think these routers are just designed at some point just to fail because they can, and they get more money out of us.
It's like
Um,
HP printers, right? They weren't
exactly.
designed to last forever.
Right. And I went to print
Yeah.
something on my Canon printer at the loft the other night, and she was like, I hadn't used it maybe a month or two. And of course, the cartridge is dry. And I'm just like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And as little as I print at the house, it's, rare tax stuff. But anyway.
Yeah,
So,
and some of those routers now, especially the wireless ones, have different nodes in them. So it's
oh,
almost
yeah.
like they're using a mesh network kind of
Sure.
concept
This is,
to spread the Wi-Fi signal
yep.
around a house, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is an AI mesh, but I don't have any nodes because I'm just everything here's
Yeah.
about 9. Well, if I look at the list, the cameras and that kind of stuff are wireless, but everything else, all the computers are wired. There's nothing here that is on Wi-Fi per se, except
Yeah.
for the stuff that has to be like ALEXA. But you never beat a wired connection ever. So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully the stream stays up and we're good. But if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you check in and say hello. And want to hear from you. Let's see if you got any questions today. What I was almost going to do, Rob, is I was going to plug in and fire up Clubhouse on my side, but I decided not to. Maybe we can try that on the next show. But and have it. I did my show the other night where it was just broadcast only. It was not any interaction. So
Oh, yeah. So how did that work out?
well,
Okay.
people popped in, popped out. So it's basically they see that I'm just talking. I wasn't paying hardly any attention to it. So, um,
Right.
but
It's
I
just
don't know.
another
Just another
listening
spot.
point.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
another listening point at that
yeah.
point. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, a little bit of controversy continues. Well, they keep trying to figure out how Buzzsprout has 50-50. Um,
Right.
but
Yeah. I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit. That's for sure.
all right. I think we talked about a little bit on the last show, but do we want to go in any deeper on that?
Yeah, I suppose we could. I mean, I think that there's some things going on with it that are interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
think that are probably helpful for the podcast community to know about to some degree. I know that there's a discussion going on between us and James Cridlin
Yeah.
from Pod News about this
Yeah.
around kind of the breakdown of what's the percentage of shows on hosting platforms that are submitted over to Spotify. And
Yeah.
I think that really points to why we might be seeing this discrepancy in the percentage numbers between the total downloads via Spotify.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have, tried to paint the picture that somehow, Spotify is taking over the podcasting space, but that isn't really the whole story. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a spin on it that isn't entirely accurate. But yeah, if you look at James did a breakdown of podcast hosts and what the percentage of shows that actually have submitted shows hosted on their platform
Yeah.
over to Spotify, and I think that really maybe shows a glimpse into what's really going on here.
But I think one thing that is the takeaway, and he gave us our number.
Right.
I suspect our number's lower because he can't track unless he's using, if he's looking at pure RSS feeds. Now, here's the thing. When you and us and a handful of others started doing the Spotify thing, we had to submit a custom feed to Spotify.
Right.
It wasn't the podcast. So even though someone was hosting it on their .com, people had to submit through the Blueberry portal, and then we had to create a custom feed. It really was something that pissed us off. We didn't want to have to do that. But
Right.
so we feed Spotify a custom feed, and it's just basically anytime someone's feed updates, we update the custom feed, and that's what they pull.
Right.
So in the early days, that was the only way to get on.
Well, Libsyn still does a custom feed.
Well, we do too for those that submit through Blueberry. So we do, just because we're not going to go and rework the system. And another thing we had to do, of course, is if anybody had an M4A, we had to convert that to MP3 because Spotify only took MP3s. So I know this is nothing new. We've talked about this in the past. And now, though, when Spotify finally figured out what we had told them the entire time, is you need your own portal, you need your own place for people to submit, which they should have done in the beginning to begin with. Now podcasters don't have to submit through Blueberry or Libsyn or anywhere else. They can go direct. And I call it Spotify Direct. You go right straight to them and use their portal and submit your show. So because we have such a huge number of customers that are using PowerPress, and they don't show up with a Blueberry feed. So this is where we often get screwed in any type of percentage, because people look at the feed addresses and think that's the size of the company when they have absolutely no clue that,
Right.
you know, us and a couple of others podcasters are using their own RSS feeds. And so we were at 64.8%, but I would suspect that number for us is actually lower due to all the other shows that submitted, unless he used media URLs, hosting URLs.
No, he doesn't say specifically what the basis of this is.
No.
He's showing Libsyn's about 56% of the shows. And to some degree, some of that, why certain platforms have more than others. And I mean, this is a huge list of different platforms.
I was like, who are these people? You know, and some of those, right?
I mean, just to throw out a kind of a comparison, Anchor and Art19 are both kind of in that 90% range.
Right.
Libsyn's at 56 for Libsyn.com and 20% for Libsyn Pro. And part of that gets back to legacy shows that are hosted on the platform that are active, but are active shows that are hosted on the platform that are not actively being continued to be produced.
Right.
Which means that some of those shows are not going to go in and submit to Spotify because they're kind of shows that are in holding patterns. So platforms that have been around a long time typically have a lot of shows that people are still paying for accounts and still hosting shows, but are not actively updating those shows. But they have deep catalogs, right, of content. And those shows may not have been submitted over to a newer platform like Spotify. And that's one of the things that is going on here too. But I mean, you look at like NPR or a Megaphone, they're up in the 85 to 90% shows over there. So you'll probably see a higher percentage of Spotify listens off of some of these other platforms because of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've, you know, and it's kind of, actually, I'm actually kind of surprised they said 64%. That actually kind of surprised me a little bit. It was actually that high.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at Anchor, it should be 100% because Anchor's owned by Spotify. Why is it not 100%?
Well, because there is an option not to auto submit over to Apple. So,
yeah.
And it shows 89.7% is what James's number for Anchor is. So Art19 is actually almost 93%.
93%.
So,
yeah.
Right. And if you look at, I was going to look at Podbean. What's Podbean?
Podbean's at 67.4. They're
67%.
See, they're just right there with us, with me, or close.
It's an older hosting platform. Podomatic, look at Podomatic, 14%.
Right.
So you start looking at the older hosting platforms, and they typically have lower numbers.
Yep.
So,
And I don't know
yeah.
why they've got two versions of Simplecast.
I don't know either.
That's bizarre.
SoundCloud is only 32%, which I thought was interesting.
Well, that's not surprising whatsoever because that's another sea of dead shows.
Right.
And seeing they haven't updated their platform in 4 years.
Oh, yeah, years and years.
And look at TalkShoe, 20.4%, but I don't know how many people are actually still using TalkShoe.
Yeah. So
Springcast, yes. I never heard of them, 100%.
Yeah. So this is, it's just an indication.
But really, does this mean anything? Does this really mean anything? I don't know if it really means anything.
I mean, I think it would definitely mean more if we could get a roll-up of the whole.
The whole industry. Oh, Rob, you froze up for a second. Or you're still froze up. Oh. See, I told you guys that new router wasn't going to work. Yeah, Rob, you may want to disconnect and come back because you're froze on my screen. Maybe I'll just hang up on you and you can call back. We'll see if Rob calls back. It never fails. There's always something. So I get going into what this means. I don't know if this means anything, except that there is some indication there that here comes Rob.
Oh, we just dropped.
Yeah, you just froze. I mean, I saw your face turn sideways, and that was it.
So you really...
So something happened. But again, I don't know if these numbers really mean anything in the long term. And but again, we've got, that's another thing too. We have a lot of shows that have been online for many, many, many years. They're active, they're publishing, but have they submitted to all these additional places? I don't know,
Yeah. That plus, I don't know that we're going to find out too, because I mean, I don't know that it's in the best interest of Apple or Spotify for the true totality of the number to come out, right?
Well,
I mean, unless Spotify has overtaken, but I don't know how they would know what Apple's numbers are.
And here's the thing. It's just like, does it really matter? Because every show...
Well, it's all about market share, right?
Well, yeah,
but that's what everybody's concerned about.
But every show that is... let me just... Every show that is made today has a little bit different demographic from one another. There's some generalities. Business shows, right. Sports shows. There's certain, there's certain things. But that doesn't say if the podcast host has told their audience from day one to use Overcast, if that's that podcast host's fan app, that's the app he wants people to get. So his audience is going to migrate to Overcast. If they, again, it's really, I think, host dependent upon where they recommend their audience stay connected to the show from. Now, right. if you're trying to have the best strategy, you just do it all. Right. You do all of them. Hey, Mike, check Slack. I saw Mike in our. So, I don't know. I think that it's a situation that's going to be show dependent. Because I look through our own data, and it's like some shows are doing real well. Some shows are, it's a mix from show to show. I think it's up to each podcaster to see where they're at.
Well, I think it also depends on what the listener demographics are of the particular listening platform too. I think the demographics of a listener in Apple Podcasts is a little different than in Spotify.
Oh, sure.
Right? So they're going to appeal to a different subset of podcasting content on Spotify than from Apple.
Yeah.
I think it may not be dramatically different, but it's definitely going to have a little bit of a different emphasis. I mean, it's so if you were to rank the important genres on Spotify as far as where people are listening to on a download basis,
Yep.
it may be slightly different than the ranking of downloads by genre in Apple.
True.
And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So if a hosting platform tends to host more, let's say, society and culture shows than they do sports shows,
Yeah.
that platform is going to index higher with society
course.
and culture, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's and at the end of the day, Todd, I guess it doesn't really make sense. What makes sense for individual podcasters is what's their
That's right.
total
What's their
listeners.
numbers? You know, what are they?
Yep.
You know, what does it look like for them? And
Right.
because you and I
Right.
can spout our numbers all day long, and then
Right.
so can all these other 50 companies that are on that list. Actually, I think the thing I was surprised was that list. How many different players out there that are in the
Yeah, right.
podcasting space.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's how many say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, I'm going to get the official count here 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So like 27, 54.
There's like 60.
Yeah, 60. Yeah, 61, around 60 total podcast hosts out there. That's insane. 60. There was 5 years ago.
Yeah. And there's consolidation happening.
Yeah.
Too. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these hosting platforms are owned by the same company now. So, you're starting to see that happen too.
Yeah.
So, but, I think this discussion is only relevant to podcasters from the standpoint of understanding the demographics of the listener of the particular platform and selecting which listening platform they want to promote,
Right.
Based on the alignment with their target audience. That'd be the only benefit that I could see from worrying about any of this.
Yeah. And I'm not too gonna worry about it because I know my audience personally. I know my audience does not listen over there on
Right.
Spotify.
Yeah.
So
And
for
I
me,
would say that that's the case with Libsyn as well. I mean, if you look at our numbers,
right?
it's not a hugely important platform to, let's say, a business podcaster or a technology show. It's just it doesn't cater to that market.
Yep. So one thing I saw, I got the email from Roadcaster as well.
Oh yeah, about their upgrade.
Their upgrade, in which they're going to basically have MIDI functions that they can use the sound pad to actually change cameras in some online software. I'm assuming OBS and some of those other ones will take a MIDI input to be able to switch from camera to camera. I thought that was kind of interesting that they're trying to make that. There's that train. Woohoo! I want to, every time I hear that, I want to have someone in this audience, please go over to the No Agenda show and get me the sound clip they use for trains. And those of you that listen to No Agenda show, you'll know it. And send it to me because I want to start using that here on the show. Whenever I hear Rob's train, we're gonna play that song. No, so
Well, Todd, after a while, I'll start playing the sound of it going off in different odd times because I can do that on my Roadcaster.
well, I've got mine right here tied in right now, so I can do the same thing. So so it's from the Roadcaster standpoint, they are really trying to push the envelope on this thing, and I think it's pretty exciting what they're doing. So time will tell what type of integration they get. And if I was a betting man, version 2 of this Roadcaster will have some tie to live video based on what they've done with this beta. Now, they say use this beta at your own risk. And they've actually added some Windows drivers too. So all those drivers that you just deactivated, Rob, be aware they've updated some ASIO drivers. So
Okay.
ASIO is what Windows machines use.
Right. Right. But it also says the company also warns you not to use it for critical projects
Right,
quite yet.
right. And I don't know anyone that doesn't use a Roadcaster for a critical project.
Right. Else they wouldn't have bought it to begin with.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Spotify deleting more episodes from Joe Rogan show? Any
Huh.
reaction to that?
Hmm. Um. Hmm.
I don't know.
It just shows that uh, they're kind of getting a little bit more focused on their content moderation, I guess.
Hmm. Interesting. I'm glad Joe's got his check.
I didn't happen to look at the list of topics of those shows. Did you happen to take a look?
I did not, but I heard that it was some of the people that you know are a little bit on the edge as far as some of the claims they make and that type of stuff. So it
Mm-hmm.
might have been some of that going on. But so one thing that did come out at the end of the week as well is that the writers and producers at Gimlet, Spotify's Gimlet Media, have union. Looks like they've unionized, and
Yep.
they have ratified their first collective bargaining agreements.
Wow.
So,
The Writers Guild of America
yeah.
East. Yeah. Huh?
So I don't think it's news that they had unionized. I think it's news that they've got their collective bargaining agreements. So,
Right. Right. And I think this is going to have an impact on some of the studios on the East Coast or on the West Coast too.
well,
Probably.
one thing that I found it was interesting is they did not get in that deal is if Gimlet owns the show, the host do not get any ownership rights to the shows. That's something that they did not get in their agreement. So if you go to Gimlet and do work for Gimlet and do a podcast for Gimlet, you have no rights to that podcast that you may be working on with from a producer or from a being the host standpoint.
Yeah. And that clearly is a tension in the medium right now as we see networks grow and develop. More and more networks are playing some chess games with content creators and talent out there around ownership rights versus creative ideas and show concepts and things like that. I'm constantly hearing you know creators out there talking to, let's say, a network, right, and trying to get into an advertising share agreement, content production agreement, those kind of things, and struggling with the whole element of ownership, and maybe considering signing contracts that sign over
Right.
ownership rights to a network, but yet the talent comes in and brings their ideas and brings their brand and brings their energy to the show, and then if things go south on that deal, they basically, and sometimes those deals don't make a lot of sense, because if you go to a network with a show concept and that show concept is linked with you as a brand, as the host, right, it really kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to sign over 100% of the ownership rights to a network, because what are you going to do? are you I mean, is that network, if you decide to leave that deal, and are they going to keep that show with your name associated with it? No, they're going to have to change the name of it. So you know I don't know what they're signing up for when you sign up a deal for ownership of somebody's personal brand.
I I, I talked
Doesn't make
to
any sense.
I talked to a guy that's going on the model of going into production. A host knows that he will only be on for a season or two, and then they're going to change host purposely.
Right.
And
Right.
I said to him, I said, you do realize that the majority of shows that are popular and growing, it's because of the host
Right.
and not necessarily the content. So I said, you're going to be very, very careful in how you position that content, because if I get used to John Smith or Susie Jones doing a particular podcast, And I like how that person produces it, how it sounds, and and the information I get that I derive from that host. And then they flip the switch and bring a new host in. I'm gone. I'm going to go find where that host went and follow him over there.
Right. And then that host is forced with coming up with another
Alternate
brand that's associated with their name that's going to compete with that other one, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, where does this end? Does that also trigger a non-compete situation too? I mean, so it just creates this dichotomy of, thinking about a deal going bad. And I think that's something you always have to keep in mind is, right, these deals don't always last.
Right.
And so there needs to be some off ramp that you can do that's reasonable for all parties involved.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Rob, because you had mentioned something on the last show, and I kind of giggled about it. But I signed a new NDA Thursday.
Did you now? Okay.
It had been in our legal process for 3 or 4 days, and that I got the approval and signed off on that NDA. So
okay,
I don't know nothing.
Yeah, right. Welcome to the party, Todd.
Yeah, I think it's here's the thing is crazy, everyone. You got to be careful on NDAs you're signing. Not only from because this could affect you, let's say you have a conversation with someone and it results in nothing. I've had those happen before, right? You get a mutual NDA and it really results in nothing. And all of a sudden, boom, it's you think, well, that was a good idea, but they don't want to proceed. Now what do I do? And I'm not saying that's the case with what's going on right now.
Well, 99% of the time, it's usually not any kind of an issue, but
right.
But you never know.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. It's all about harming others. If it's going to harm someone else in their investment or that is where you get into the legal problems.
Right.
It's all about harm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Doing tech support here during the show. Anyway, go ahead.
So James Cridland and I guess Buzzcast, this is the Buzzsprout folks, I guess, are touting that they now have 100,000 active podcasts on their platform. I thought that was interesting news. Came out.
Okay.
I do know that they have a free plan too, don't they?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay. And let's see here. What's some other news? Ricky Gervais is coming out with a new podcast.
This guy never goes away. he's like the Energizer. He's the Energizer bunny. He's always they do have a free plan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like that guy's been. How long's he been podcasting? Since the beginning, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was very early in the podcast. He actually was one of the first, I think, podcasters to take his podcast and make a TV show out of it.
Right.
Right. So it says his podcast is coming out. It's called Absolutely Mental. It says the show isn't yet on any podcast platform, and there's no indication when it will launch. Meanwhile, someone copied, I guess, Gervais's exclusive show off of SiriusXM app and put them onto Anchor. So this is what James is saying. So someone copied the show concept or something like that.
So I found this interesting too. There was a article put out by Westwood One. Mm-hmm. It says Edison Research share of your Q4 2020 podcasting eats Spotify, Pandora, and AM/FM radio remains the dominant ad-supported audio platform. I thought, huh? So they say the Q4 2020 edition of Edison Research Share of Ear, the gold standard, contains stunning news. For the first time, audience shares for podcasting surpassed the combined audiences of ad-supported Pandora and ad-supported Spotify.
Right.
Podcasting achieved a 12% share compared to Pandora and Spotify's combined 11% share of ad-supported
Right.
audio among 18 plus. This is notable as ad-supported audio audiences are of great importance to brands. Podcasting also beat Pandora and Spotify handedly among the 18 to 34 and 25 to 54 ad-supported audiences.
Right.
That is something I wasn't paying attention to.
Yeah, and and this also talks about AM/FM radio remaining dominant in ad-supported audio platform with 74% share of ad-supported audio is 11 times bigger than Pandora and 19 times larger than Spotify. So
Right.
this was a radio-centric
Yeah.
data dump, trying to pump up the significance of radio
Yeah.
in the market. Right.
And I think what we have to realize is that Pandora is not going to advertise your local car dealer having a sale this weekend.
Right.
Unless they get their targeting down. And
plus they're also not saying in here too, but what we're really talking about here and comparing, there's a little bit of apples to oranges going on here, because AM/FM radio's market share is primarily driven by music. So, and they're comparing it to platforms that are primarily talk.
Right.
So, and talk has been in massive decline on AM/FM radio for years. So there's a little bit of apples and
Well, I
oranges.
wouldn't say massive decline, Rob.
Well, I should say, I mean, as a percentage decrease, it's been declining, and I think with the death of certain hosts here recently on talk radio, that's not helping that case.
Yeah. But I'm also hearing, from radio people who's going to be his replacement, and that may drive the number back the other way. But if
Dan Bongino is the one that's kind of stepping in right now.
Yeah, but there's another younger, more hip dude that's coming in for the conservative side. So we'll see what happens. I'll just leave it at that. I'm trying to think of his name. Ben Shapiro.
Oh, Ben. Yeah. I'm familiar with him.
Yeah. So I think it's Shapiro, something like that.
Yeah.
So that they think that he's going to be the next upcoming star in talk radio. But if you look again then at the share of ear, I think we can realize that podcasts have done very, very well over the last year. So radios, we've never said radio's going anywhere. We know that radio is a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion.
And as we come back from the pandemic and people start driving around more, which they are now, I think it's gonna
But it wasn't.
The problem is how many small businesses did we lose?
Well,
if I look at the lifeblood of radio.
If I look at my hometown, it's been decimated, and it's still ongoing because the governor hasn't completely, things are still bad here.
Right.
And matter of fact, what's starting to happen now, our business owners are defying, and they're just doing what they want to do. Capacity limits in restaurants. Supposed to be. I think we're supposed to be at 50%, and I was in a restaurant last night, and it was full. Every table was full. So I think people finally said they can't take it no more, and they're just defying. But going back to this, their survival depends on it. The goalpost keeps getting moved on them, and you can't blame them for doing what they've done. But it is definitely this article. Of course, Westwood One is a radio. Wow, Rob disappeared again. Westwood One is a radio group. And Rob, that's weird. You just went away again. They are digging on Pandora and Spotify, and luckily they're boosting up podcasting at the same time.
Right. That's true.
So what's going on with Skype? We very rarely
And I think,
disconnect.
yeah, I think it's just bandwidth.
Huh.
That's where the problem is.
But they go into the podcast daily reach and AM FM reach, but share of ad supported audio among persons 18 plus. If we look at quarter four 2016, it was 83% for AM FM radio, 74% in quarter four 2020, whereas podcasting was 3%, is now 12.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that
that's a
really,
big jump.
but that
That's a big
bothers
jump.
me in a certain instance, because there's probably a cap on podcasting right now, because the media buyers are not willing to look downstream in host endorsed advertising for smaller shows. There's only so many big shows, so it's going to be capped out, and this is what the industry is going to have to grapple with. Maybe they'll start just creating more content to try to fill the need, but as I talk to people now, I here's the funny thing is, people get all excited when they hear I'm working podcasting. And it's like they start telling me the shows that they listen to. And recently, I think I talked about it on the last show, but I don't quite remember where I was at. But one of the she was middle age. True crime is where she's listening. So, but along with that, how did she find? And I asked her, how did you start in the podcasting space? So I listened to Serial. That's what got her in, and now she's expanded her catalog. And I think she said she listens to 7 or 8 shows.
Right. That's what the data shows, right?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that from this this research study that we're referring to here, it says ad-supported Pandora and Spotify music streaming peaked in 2016. It says podcasting now accounts for all the growth in audio.
Wow.
It's a key takeaway. Podcasts have scale, especially among persons 18 to 34. Though I would say that podcasting, at least in the more recent numbers, has been scaling with 55 plus, and then the 12 to 24 age group too.
Well, because guess who was here? Who was 40 and who was 40 when podcasting started?
Right.
And
now
those
in the 55
and,
group.
and they were the primary listeners of podcasting before the 18 to 25-year-olds. They were wrinkled their nose at this space for 10 years. So,
and many of them were the creators.
Right. So now those 40 are 54, 55. So this that segment's going to continue to, go into retirement. Good. And just at the same time, where radio's screwed because the 18 to 25-year-olds are not listening largely to the radio, even though they say they are. I have yet to run into someone in that age range that all these studies say they're listening to the radio, but when you ask them, what are you listening to? Spotify, Apple Music, that's what they're listening to.
Well, I do have to wonder if some of the research that comes out about this stuff, because I did one of those radio panels myself just to go through the process, that if younger people get given those radio panels to fill out their radio listening patterns and submitting it for this type of research, it does kind of condition you to probably report more listening to radio than you probably would normally. I think. I mean, unless you're really honest about it, because it forces you to think about radio more if you're part of the survey study, right?
Yep.
Just the fact that you're participating puts pressure on you to listen to radio. So, because I felt it going through the survey myself.
I would have each and every one of you that listen to the show that run into or have adult children, 18 plus. I would just, if they're going to drive somewhere, if you're going to get in the car with them and they're driving in their car, you look at what if the radio's not turned on, turn it on and see what it's default connected to. And I can almost think it's going to be Bluetooth. Where they get exposed to radio, Rob, is when they're back in the office and they're playing radio over their system inside their office or
Right.
business. Or I've walked in the past into clothing stores and it's been tied to FM such and such. Some
Right.
hip station is in condition with the. You're not going to hear talk radio being played in a in a
In a
clothing
clothing
store.
store.
No,
No.
no, or they're doing a playlist that they've designed to help you spend more money.
Right.
Psychoengineering. But
Yeah.
I don't know if stores have radio playing. Do they have to still? Because businesses technically, when they play music,
That's a public performance.
yeah. So if they're just running the radio, is that a public performance? Because it's like, does the radio? They're the ones that are going to pay that. I don't know.
I think some of the big chains have to sign up for audio services,
Or almost any restaurant probably does.
right?
Yeah.
That provides that kind of service. But
Yeah.
I think smaller restaurants, they just tap into their iPhone or something like that and play it through their speakers.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that kind of stuff happens. But more and more, I people are accessing content through CarPlay and
Right.
Android Auto in their vehicles too. Technology's more and more coming into these cars. Especially over the next 5 to 10 years, more and more cars are shifting. They're going to be electric cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the pattern. That's the path of the future. We're electrifying everything.
If you live in a metro area, electrification is going to be the way to go. If you live where I live, they're not going to. It's going to be a long time coming.
Right.
Ta-
Well, some of the car manufacturers have already stated that by 2025, 2020, or 2030, they're not even going to be making, ICE vehicles anywhere.
well,
the
they
internal
they better
combustion
start
cars.
putting charging stations everywhere.
Well,
That
that's what the plan is, right?
yeah.
Is
Well,
part of this
I'm not
infrastructure
holding
bill.
my breath.
Right.
We'll see.
500,000 charging stations.
That's not enough.
Well,
How many times? How
okay,
many?
well,
Okay,
there's already probably that many that's already been built.
so let's see. How many cars are in America? Let's just do a little.
Well, and cars can charge in your own garage.
But you do understand most people, not everyone is in a house. People are in townhouses. So there's
Right.
286.9 million registered cars in the United States. So if we divide that by 7, that's what,
Right.
40 million. And seeing that you're going to need to get a charge once a week.
Mhm.
And let's say half of those people have homes, so that takes 20 million off the top. So that
Not
means
everybody's going to have an electric car right away.
I know,
it's gonna
but
grow over time.
I understand that. But again, and then where are they going to get all this generation capacity to charge all these vehicles? Because that's a whole nother situation. You want to get rid of oil, you want to get rid of coal, you don't want nuke. So how are we going to charge these vehicles? People have, when they plug their car in and then the lights go out in their house. So
Well, that's why they're also working on solar too here, Todd. So you're going to have battery packs in your garage.
well,
that will
if you
store
can afford
solar.
it, only the rich people are going to be able to do that. So, we're a long, long way from gas vehicles going away. I'd say 25 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that they're going to go away. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
we're clearly on the path to replacing gas.
But regardless of
gas-powered
what kind of
vehicles.
vehicle they use, and I'll be buying gas from because if you live outside of Metro America, it's a whole different game. Most of you, if you live in Metro America, plenty of opportunities, plenty. Well, actually, density is an issue because in big cities, you might be fourth waiting to get charged your vehicle, and you might have to wait 2 hours because there's cars ahead of you to get charged. So,
Right.
Rick Savoya says his son Tommy listens to Spotify in the car. He says his daughter listens to music on YouTube. I still don't understand that. I guess that's where
Well,
people.
you just stream it, Todd. It's just use the YouTube app. You know, you can listen to it. You don't have to watch it.
Okay. I just find that bizarre that people listen to music on YouTube.
It's free. That's why.
Well, is there a playlist capability? I guess I've never explored it. How do you organize what you listen to on YouTube?
I think you just listen to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Mike says we have a total of 10 public chargers here. We have around 100,000 people in the area. So, again, long ways to go. But where there's a demand, I guess build it and they'll come. Actually, with this $100 billion being allocated to giving you a cash rebate for buying an electric vehicle.
No, it's 176 billion or 174 billion.
Yeah. Yep. It's just what we're doing is we're subsidizing other people's ability to. So who's going to advantage from that is people that can afford that kind of a vehicle. That pisses me off, to be honest.
Well, they're planning, Todd, on making a electric vehicle. I know Tesla is planning on making an $18,000 electric vehicle.
Hold your breath. It'll go 80 miles.
No, it won't. It's not going to go 80 miles, Todd. That's in the past.
There's a lot of vehicles still.
A Leaf, Todd.
Yeah,
I bought back in 2011. So
there's a lot of vehicles that still have an under 200-mile range. So, a lot.
I'm just saying, but the cost of batteries is coming way down. They're going to be making a new Tesla that's going to sell for less than the base model of a Toyota Camry.
Whoa, I'll believe it when I see it.
It's already in development, Todd.
$18,000 vehicle.
Yep. It's going to be a Tesla. It's going to be first made in China.
Okay, well, that does us a lot of good here.
Well, no, that's where the concepting of the car is going to happen first. It's going to be built first there, and then it's going to be built here.
So. I guess we'll see. 18,000. You can't buy a scooter for 18,000 these days at a car dealer.
Well, you see, that's what's changing with the technology is that they're streamlining the production process to a point. They're eliminating parts. They're pulling things out, and they're going to make it really simple to manufacture.
Well, we will see.
That's the idea.
We will see. Plastic cars, just what we need.
It won't be plastic. I mean, there'll be some plastic probably. Yeah.
Again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Because, again, range.
Yep.
Rick says our monthly data usage at our home internet averages 600 gigabits a month. That's actually pretty low, Rick. You're doing pretty good at 600 gigs a month. That's actually not bad, considering the average person uses about 100 gigs a month on normal usage. So you're not doing bad. So maybe you're a little bit above the curve. You're not going to get your cable company to come asking you for more money yet. Did you hear T-Mobile Home is making this is something maybe interested for some podcasters that are out there maybe with bandwidth challenges. T-Mobile has announced their T-Mobile Home product. It works on 5G, and you get unlimited bandwidth. And they actually say it's unlimited, true unlimited.
I shifted to T-Mobile just a couple weeks ago.
So do you have T-Mobile Home in your house too for your internet?
Not yet.
Yeah,
but I know that's coming. I talked to him about it.
$60.
It's going to replace your cable modem.
Right. And they're going to limit the rollout in specific areas, but it's only places that will have 5G. So, of course, again, the countryside is not covered. Only
not 100%, but it's getting there.
No, there is no 5G in the country. In country locations, in rural locations, there is no 5G.
Yeah. in rural locations. I'm talking
Right.
about in the urban
Oh, urban
urban
is,
areas.
yeah.
Right. Right.
So the urban areas don't need this. This is needed in rural America. So,
Hmm.
but they're going to make
Well,
a
that
run.
could be a Starlink thing.
Well, Starlink is going to be the savior for rural America, but T-Mobile,
Right. Right.
if they were smart, they could upsert Starlink in a real quick fashion if they started bringing 5G to rural America. But the problem is the density for towers on 5G is so high
Right.
that, there would be a 5G tower every couple of miles.
Well, that's what's going to happen anyway.
Well, in your big areas, it is.
In the urban areas,
Right, right,
the higher population centers.
right.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah, because it doesn't have the transmitter range, so you have to have more nodes.
oh, it has to be line of sight. You have to be able to physically see the antenna for it to really work.
And does it? I don't think it passes through buildings, does it?
No, not real well. So that's why those home units they're building has to be positioned at a window.
Window or have probably some sort of antenna connection.
Potentially,
probably.
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
That will probably what will come.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's been interesting because cell service has gotten worse here as of late. Especially T-Mobile used to be really good, but T-Mobile, as they've been upgrading their network and changing things over, at least in this area, T-Mobile has gotten worse. Where Verizon is just continuously rocking it, and it wasn't the case a year ago. T-Mobile was pretty steady. But
So I saw that Facebook is testing a Clubhouse copycat called Hotline. I'm sure you saw this. Probably.
yeah, I think we talked about it in the last show too.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Did you? Oh, Rob locked up again. Very bizarre. Maybe it is on Spotify. I mean, on T-Mobile. Here's a crazy thing. The stream is good. Everyone on the stream is fine. It just must be. It just must be. And let me put a 1 star on there.
it's not Skype. I don't think. I think it's my cable connection.
You think it's your connection on your side today?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
You're next. I got my stuff fixed. Now you have to get yours fixed.
Yeah. I think I'm going to sign up for that 5G because I've got transmitting towers right behind me.
Have you actually got a 5G signal on your phone?
I could get one, but I don't have a 5G phone.
I've never seen. I've got 2 5G phones, and I've never seen a 5G signal ever.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't have a 5G phone. So the iPhone 12 is what you need. I've got an iPhone 10.
So no. It's all LTE still. No 5G.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I'm out in backwoods Michigan too. Well, I don't know. Rob, I think and that's another thing too. I made a call to. Did I tell you about the increase? So to go to 35 megs up, from 20 to 35, and
Right.
go from 400 to 600 down, cable company wanted another $100 a month.
Wow.
What
That's a lot.
a scam. Business people get screwed when it comes to business lines because you probably
Making so much money, Todd. Right? You can pay that extra bill.
Yeah. Okay. We need somebody want to underwrite this show for additional $100 a month. Make a $1,200. Make a $1,200. Actually, I got to commit for 2 years, so $2,400. I can get an upgraded connection here.
Right.
No. So, yeah, whatever. But it's
it's probably cheaper to get a second line than it is to. Right.
Yeah, but that has its own challenges when you bring in a second internet connection because.
Then you have to split it off.
Yeah, it's a pain. So I keep telling my sister who has a place next door, I keep telling her, I said, I'm going to drill a hole through the wall and run a LAN cable over there and plug it into, because at night, no one's using that internet connection. It's just guessed anyway. I said, I'll
Yep.
pay you to upgrade your fee, and then I will do exactly that without
Right.
without incurring a whole bunch more money.
Yeah, that'd be smart. Right.
Yep. Yep. Run that cable, staple it to the ceiling. I'm sure she'd appreciate that from an appearance standpoint.
Right. Right.
So I don't know what we've got to. There's not a lot to talk about since Wednesday in the podcasting space. We're digging here.
We are digging.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some news out came out about IEB released its annual ad revenue report? Did we talk about that? So
I know they were bugging me to submit numbers, and we didn't. So
right.
it's one of the few things you can do with them every year for free. We don't have
Right.
to pay money.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't talk about podcasting specifically. So
Yeah, I think that's still in work. So don't think it's done for this go around yet.
yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of
Right.
it's a weird time right now. I think a lot of people are just hunkered down, cranking, doing content, working hard at it, building their shows. Again, every call I do, it's about how do I grow my show? How do I grow my show? How do I grow my show?
Yeah, it's all about marketing.
Yeah,
That's the big question, right?
everyone's really focused on that now in a big way.
Yeah.
So, and I guess we'll start to watch what happens here. Where it's April, we'll start seeing what happens with the numbers of shows active starting about June when offices
Mm-hmm.
start to pre-populate people back into the office again. I don't think the impact will be as noticeable until maybe August or September when kids hopefully go back to school full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then parents are more back in the office because, summer, June, July, August, if people are pent up, I bet you we see a drop this summer in listening because everyone that can afford to go on vacation hasn't been able to go on vacation, and they're probably going crazy wanting to go someplace. So I would suspect that the travel season is going to be big this year, potentially.
Though, Todd, I have heard people say I was listening to the was it the um, On Air Fest that was going on the last couple days. There was a couple sessions in there that I tuned in for. That's like an digital audio event here, in I guess on the East Coast. But it's people were talking about how uh, they feel like the potential of the new normal is that people are less inclined to leave their house now. People are going to spend more
God
time
help
at
us.
home, and they're going to not travel as much as they used to. So the new normal may not be as get out there as much as I think a lot of people might think.
That's really devastating to hear that people are going to remain cooped up in their homes.
Well, I think it gets back to, what do they say about changing behavior?
Oh, yeah.
There's usually a certain period of time. I don't know if it's like 20, 30 days. If a person has changed their behavior, that it's a permanent change.
Well, we guess they were successful in programming us.
Well, I guess I don't know if that's what the goal was, but I guess that's the results potentially with a certain. It's not going to be for everybody. I think that there is going to be a lot of people. I hear a lot of people saying that they're going to get out and they're going to travel and they're going to do stuff just like you, Todd.
Yeah.
But I also hear a certain percentage of people out there that are just like, I'm reevaluating getting out. Is it safe? All that kind of
We've
stuff.
got a vaccine. It's safe. If you had your vaccine, you're safe. So what's the
Supposedly.
reason of getting a vaccine if it's not safe? That's the irony of all this. So
Right.
if it's not safe to go out and get a vaccine, then that's why a lot of people are not getting a vaccine because it's
Well,
not.
Todd, we're also being told that vaccine may only last for 6 months.
Well, we'll see.
So
I'm
does
sure
that
they're
mean
going to
that
have us in line giving us booster shots. I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be getting regular vaccine shots for here and to eternity
They have definitely trained us, haven't they?
Certainly there's a lot of money flowing to those that are making vaccines.
Yeah, and we're all being having We can get into the whole thing here, but
Right.
it's
Yeah.
uh, I ask people on a regular basis, are you getting the vaccine? No. Yes. Nope. Nope. Yes.
Yeah,
I
I hear a
bet
lot of people saying yes. Yeah.
Well,
Like my family has
I'm
got it
hearing
too.
more no's than yes. By far more no's than yes. So I hear nurses saying, I got a friend that's a nurse. She said, I'm not getting the vaccine. No way they're putting that in me. And I just like, wow.
Yeah, that is something. Right. So,
So I don't know what the average is on healthcare workers. Of course, no one's going to report any of that.
right.
But I mean, let's think about it. A lot of people never got influenza shots because a lot of people, as soon as they get a flu shot, either it's coincidence or not, they get sick. So a lot of people are saying, nope, I'm not going to. It's just, there's a lot of people that, I'm not saying anti vaxxers. I'm saying a lot of people don't ever get influenza shots. They may have gotten all the other stuff over their life,
Right. Right.
but,
You know, the
so they look at this the same way.
right.
And they're
To
not
change
going to,
this,
there's no way they can mandate it.
to change the subject here, it does look like podcast movement Nashville that this show will be back on stage live again.
Oh, awesome. We got that word,
So
huh?
I got that pulled together. So I don't have a date or time yet, but we'll be back on stage like we did in Orlando with
Yeah.
this show live. So in front of a real audience
Yep.
again.
Tom says you get a flu shot every year. You get all kinds of vaccinations. It's true. You do. You do
I
get
don't get a flu shot every year.
I do because I was going to the Consumer Electronics Show, and I just found that if I didn't, I got sick more often than I didn't. So I always got a flu shot before going. About maybe at least 4 to 5 weeks before CES, every year I got it. But I still I would still come home with the crud sometimes because it's a 50-50 shot whether they got the flu shot right. So Tom's right.
Yeah. No, it is true. It's true.
And yeah, Mike said being in the military, I got everything. Yeah. My 5 anthrax shots. That's the one that I figure is going to take 5 years off my life.
Yeah. So, so the podcast movement planning is happening and moving forward. So, yeah.
Well, we will see what time slot they give us. That's always key.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
it is going to be a hybrid event from what I gather. Plus, I also, it's looking like there's a good chance that the Hall of Fame is going to come back in LA at the Evolutions event. So,
I'm not holding my breath here. I keep hearing, what are we, 2 years now, 3 years without the Hall of Fame?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we as an industry get behind it and support it,
Yeah.
I think they'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it didn't happen in the past is because nobody was getting behind it. Of course, they didn't ask very many people to get behind it either
Right.
at that time.
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So there's some good news there. I would love to get this show back up on stage in front of a live audience,
And I said,
And-
everyone prepare. Let's go to Nashville. Everybody, don't stay home.
it's a beautiful venue. If you've ever been to that,
I have not been to that venue.
it's gorgeous. It's like a huge atrium. It's like being outside, but it's inside.
Well, I think
Beautiful.
with the time frame that they're on, I think they're going to be in good position to have it. So,
Yep.
unless something crazy happens, which I
Right.
wouldn't put past anybody.
Which you never know, right?
Right.
The world could come to an end, Todd. There won't
No.
be any podcast movement.
Well, there's a lot of places the world has come to an end because they're still locked down like slaves. So, it's, yeah.
Right. So we could just kind of shut it down for
Yeah,
this
we
week
can
if you
wrap
want
it
to,
up.
Todd.
Yeah, we're drifting hard today, not staying on topic. Talking about stuff that gets people pissed off.
So were you finding any have you participated in any of the Fireside Chat stuff yet?
No, I haven't got an invite to go over there and use that. I'm
Okay.
an owner of a podcast hosting company. You think they're going to let me in on that? Probably not.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Obvious reasons,
Oh, okay.
you know.
What? What? Why? Why? Because they see you as competition for
Well,
them or
who
something?
knows? I don't know, you know. And I
Okay.
will, okay, I'll admit, I haven't even tried, so I'm just
Yeah,
being
I can
funny.
send you a link to it if you want to see it.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm not all that excited based upon everything you've talked about it so far. So,
Well,
I,
it's a new concept, so I don't know. It's it it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I don't like the fact that they put in your personal feed every event that you're on that isn't your own. I think that's wrong for them to do that.
Hmm.
And I think people are going to be resistant and participating in some things. And we'll have to see. We'll see how it goes. If I can opt out, if I want my playlist to have what I want on my playlist, then I'm okay. But if I attend something and it sucks, I don't, because if I'm not in control and I go sit on a panel and that panel turns out to be like, oh my God, what this is a train wreck. I don't necessarily want to associate that with. So you're going to be very, very careful on what you participate in over there because you just by proxy could be made to look bad if I attend somebody such and such podcasting 101 session and it is me battling with two or three people over stupidity and stuff being spoken about and then that's in my feed, it's not about am I going to go hang out somewhere. Rob
Right.
disappeared again. Oh, your video
No,
went.
no, I shared sharing my screen,
Oh,
but for some reason it's not actually doing it. That's weird.
hang on. Okay. We can see it now, or at least part of it.
Okay.
There's a big black thing in the middle of the screen, so I don't know if you've got something in forward of the browser or not.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now we can see it. Go ahead.
You can see it now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's kind of
this is
blurry.
the yeah. So
Go ahead.
this is the fireside chat um, area here. This is Steve Olsher's page,
So of course, he's over there too, no doubt.
right? So you can kind of see in here. So yeah. So Steve hosted a session here, and it has a pop up, but it doesn't look like you can see the. Okay, here it is.
But then there's a thing over there that says 6 participants. So your participant list is there.
Right. So you can see down below is the actual session that person that Steve did, and here I can. Now there's some music playing.
Yeah, so let's be careful
I don't
here.
know what the rights are on that, so
Yeah,
let me.
yeah.
You're out to really learn who they
So
are.
that's the
I'll
audio
give you
there.
just an example of that if you
Okay.
don't mind me.
Wall Street, and I sat down with
Yeah.
him and had an interesting conversation.
He travels for the fish and for the food.
So you can kind of see a little bit of what that is all about.
Right.
So in some ways it's similar, but it lists all of the stuff that Steve. It's an on-demand thing, so you can see all of the sessions. There isn't really any connection with podcasting yet in here. So, but anyway, that's what's going on with it.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure how to let's see here. How to close this out.
All right, I'll come back here. But so again, if I was a participant in something and it went sideways, do I really want that associated with me? That's the.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. The format of it may work as it gets streamlined, but it is more focused on live conversations, and that has a place. It's a small place, but yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, well, do we want to close it down? It's
Yeah,
almost
I think so. Yeah, let's pull the
bottom.
pull the
Okay.
plug here. I'm getting distracted. I got people asking me questions here, so
So any questions coming out of Facebook or anything like that, or comments of interest?
Just people are making content, basically so many platforms, so many apps, and assuming I'm fully vaccinated, not yet. Tom, everyone 18 and above is now in America eligible to get your vaccine.
Yeah.
They've made that available throughout the United States. Even here in my little town, it is.
California's going to be fully opening up by June 15th?
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
see.
is what their target is. So things are getting back to normal. I'm feeling it, where I'm at. So.
All right, cool. All right, well, I'll get off in here then.
Okay.
Everyone,
All right, Todd.
Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee. And, I keep that updated with the latest stuff that I'm I'm working on and doing. And I can also be reached via email, too, if you want to send me an email, robg@libsyn.com. And it would be great to hear from you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to our crazy talk today.
Yes.
Well,
all over the map.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time here. We'll see you back here on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.